Thank
Welcome,
you.
Mr. Polanco.
Thank you, Sam, for that nice introduction. Um, yes, my name is Fernando Polanco, and I started my journey as a dental assistant. I got introduced to Exocad in 2015. My previous doctor, he came and told me, "Hey, Fernando, I'm gonna start going into the all on X, all on four business," and here we are. And then I'm glad that I feel feels great that Hassan is inviting me to do this webinar and show what's possible with Exocad. So let me see, share screen. So I'm gonna go to Exocad. There you go. Okay, guys. So now we have Exocad here. We open 3.1 DB. Here's where I'm gonna put the patient's name, the indications, and the materials and what I'm gonna do with this case. Okay. So in this case, in client, we have Insteriza, patient's name, and I'm gonna name it pre-design upper all on X, and the technician. So after this section, I jump to indications and materials, as you can see here. So from here, I'm gonna select 3 to 14. In this case, it's universal system. So that's how we name the teeth. In this case, I'm gonna select in this section, I'm gonna select Pontic wax up because I want the software to give me Pontic teeth only and create my small design like this. So I'm gonna create my nice setup, the teeth in occlusion, everything ready to go. So when we go to final, when we go to surgery, everything is ready to go. So after this, we're gonna go to materials and we're gonna go to acrylic PMMA. Here, the material doesn't really matter because we're just doing a small design first. The software just wants, material. In this case, I always select acrylic PMMA. So from here, I'm gonna go to pre-op options and parameters. And I'm gonna select pre-op here because I'm gonna modify my working model. So in this case, I wanna have a copy of it. So that's how I'm gonna bring it as a pre-op. Then design wax up. Here, I'm gonna do the small design from the teeth from Exocad from a library. So that's why I'm selecting design digitally. So the software, I'm gonna be able to use those libraries from Exocad. If I select design wax up and say no, scan it. So here the software thinks that I make a wax up out of wax on the model and I scan it and I want to use that, or if I already did like digital workshop before for this patient and I want to reuse it. So that's the difference in between these two. Design virtual workshop design virtual gingiva. I'm gonna select it as an optional, because when I'm going into that step in the design, the software will tell me, do you want it or not, and I can decide if I really want to have virtual gingiva or not. Okay. So if I set it in expert mode, I will have to jump to expert mode here. But since I'm gonna be trying to do everything on Wizard to be more systematic, so I'm gonna have that option there. Virtual extraction wizard mode, I'm gonna select the default. In this case, keep picture. I'm gonna leave it there, and then if I want to, I can just go and delete everything from in expert mode. Okay, so now from here, I can select the shade. I can just change these things, and show parameters. I don't have to touch anything because I'm not doing anything like I'm not modifying the gap submit of implant libraries or anything like that. Then after that, I just click OK. Now I have this. I select my antagonist. From here, I'm gonna hold shift and then click on number 14 by holding shift. Once you click on 14, it's just gonna transfer everything to 14. I don't have to have connectors because once I touch the interproximal contacts, then I'm gonna be able to have connectors there plus the virtual gingiva. So on the lower, I'm just gonna select 19 to 30, and one tooth is enough, but for me, in my mind, I want to see the whole set of teeth. And then I just select antagonist and I click OK. And then I do the same thing. I go hold shift and click on number 30. It's just gonna transfer everything to number 30. And after that, I'm just gonna select digital impression scans, and then I'm gonna click design. Once I click design, the software is gonna take me to the dental CAD. So in dental CAD, let me share to make sure that I'm sharing my screen properly. So now I'm gonna cancel this and I'm gonna open this one just in case. There you go. So once I see this, now in this case, I already match all the facial scans. I put the bite, I put everything together, right? But like one of the things that a lot of dentists and technicians ask me is like, how do you align the facial scans to the intraoral scans together properly, right? With your facial scanner, the Insta facial scanner. So one thing I like to do is Basar, let me know if you can see this, upper and lower jaws right now. Are you able to see that? So otherwise I can stop. I can see if I can share. Let me share this one right here. So are you able to see this, the upper and lower models? So let me see.
It's
Okay,
clear now.
okay, perfect. So now, we have the intraoral scans here, right? Upper and lower. So the nice thing that that our facial scanner is it's able to scan the teeth in high resolution, right? You can see that our facial scanner scans the teeth, and that's how we are able to match all the data together, because we're able to scan the details of the teeth on the upper and the lower, and that's how we can match the bite like that too, because our facial scanner is not, it's not just a facial scanner, it's also a bite scanner. And what I mean by that is like we're able to scan the bites directly from, especially for intake records, we're able to do this. So we are able to scan this bite with color is from the facial scanner. We have the workflow that we have developed with our facial scanner, that no other facial scanners on the market can do this, and this is huge advantage, having an option to acquire the bite with such a scanner, because it can we can nail the bite right away. That's the nice thing, especially for this full all X cases, or full mouth reconstructions or dentures, or especially for those patients that come with very bad teeth, right? And it's a challenge to scan the bite, especially with an intraoral scanner. So we use our facial scanner to scan the bite, utilizing our Insta retractors at the same time. And, we just go ahead and scan the patient in MIP or an open video. We put a lift gauge there, and then we scan the bite like that. And we're able to capture all that information in one shot. So we're able to align, our bites to it. So in this case, I'm going to move this to this so that way I can show you guys. So one dot is enough for me because I have the scans parallel to each other. And then I can just come and start highlighting this area. In this case, I use matching exclude selected parts, fit nowhere, and I'm just gonna tell the software, what areas I want, Exocad to align for me. So then I can just come, wait for the software to do the matching, and you can see everything is there. Once I see the camouflage effect, right, that tells me that it's well aligned to the bite, to the upper, to my maxilla. The intraoral scan from this is, I believe, from 303 or 5, and then the color one is the bite from our facial scanner. And then I can just come and start matching, the lower jaw to it. And why we decide to use our facial scanner as a bite scanner for these type of cases is because we know that there's a lot of remakes in the industry, especially with these full model constructions for all X cases, right? There's a lot of remakes because bite is off, right? When we do the delivery, so we need to make sure. I'm sorry, I forgot this. So we have to make sure that we get a really good bite, for us to be able to deliver a precise bite the day of surgery. When we deliver that immediate loading, all on X, or when we deliver, full motor construction crown and bridge, or when we deliver over dentures. So, we're able to nail the occlusion because, our facial scanner is a bite scanner. So, and, people say like, what do you mean that you guys are 10 years ahead of in the industry? Because we've been doing this since 2000. I've been doing this type of cases since 2015, utilizing this technology in a different way. There's nothing on the market right now that you can use it as a bite scanner, especially a facial scanner, right? So we have proprietary techniques, workflows that are very unique and different from what's on the market right now. And a lot of doctors that are using technology like photogrammetry, they get the benefit from us by integrating this type of technology in their practice and combining them with ICAM, PIC, micromapper, all these type of technologies, so they can improve their workflow. So that's something that we bring to the table. We also have our methods to capture implant position, but also we have more than that. We have a facial scanner that is able to get rid of canthus smiles, midlines, occlusion problems, and all these things, because our scanner is able to provide more than just facial scans, right? It's able to capture bites, it's able to capture dentures, it's able to capture wax rims, and all those things. So that's basically how we utilize our facial scanner. And then we have, like, of course, the facial scans and different lip positions. We ask the patient to give us, different expressions. And that way we can, make sure that, we nail everything for the smile design. And that's how we utilize the scanner as well. So now let me go back to the other case. So now let's go back to this one. So now I have this patient. This patient, we did an upper case, upper pre-design, right? So we have, the bite scan here from our facial scanner, and we have the facial scans and the intraoral scans. And also here, one thing that we can do with our facial scanner is that we are able to scan the denture at the same time from our facial scanner, right? That's a unique feature that we have that other facial scanners don't have, right? So now let me delete this so I can start from scratch. There we go. So we have, the records that we acquired for this patient was pretty much scanning, the bite, scanning the pre-op, the upper denture. We did a wash right here, and then we scanned the lower. The patient already had a lower, Oolong X case. I believe this is a conversion or acrylic with denture teeth as an opposing. And the patient was wearing an upper denture here, and the patient wanted, to have a fixed screw retain bridge on the upper. So he was tired of his denture. So we said, okay, we can help you. Let's get it done. So we acquired the intake records. So basically we took upper, lower, the bites, and we scanned, the face with retractors, Duchenne smile, natural smile, and repose. So that's why, our workflow is a 3D facially different workflow, because, we start from the face. Most of the digital workflows out there, they start from inside, right? We start from outside. So which is, facial scan, lip, teeth, implants. So, and that's how we can, nail everything, right? So we can get rid of canthus smiles, midlines, occlusion, and so because there's more, remakes on, with these cases, right? More remakes, and because the bites are off, the midlines are off, the canthus smiles, right? There's more remakes of these cases with these problems than the cases with misfits, right? So, and we're trying to bring photogrammetry users to our level, so that way they can see that, okay, we have implant position and we have aesthetics and everything, so we can nail everything. And that's where that's why we decided to integrate with photogrammetry, so that way we can help improve their workflows at the same time. So now once we have the scans, here we have everything. We have all the facial scans, we align them. So now it's time for me to start the process, right? We have manuals, I'm type of designer that I like to create manuals, so the way I can teach this, right? And the manuals are basically, step-by-step protocols and how to get these cases done the same way for upper, lower, or double arches, okay? So the first thing I like to do is, once I do my alignment and I check everything, right? I like to do my virtual mounting. So I want to make sure that my virtual mounting is going to be right. And then first, before I try to do most of the first steps in expert mode. So the way, because these steps are not in wizard mode. So we're trying to develop workflows in Exocad so that way they can become more wizard mode than expert mode. So that way everybody can jump right away to start doing these cases step by step, and the software is gonna guide them how to do it. So first thing I need to do is I need to, just put this information to my, occlusal view. This is not insertion direction. This is, I'm just telling the software that this is my positive surface, my working surface, so I can orient everything accordingly. So once I do this, I'm gonna go to the next step. So the next step is I'm gonna go to the virtual articulator. Why I start like this first is because, I love to watch a lot of YouTube videos, of conventional, teeth setup, like for dentures, right? So the technician, they need a wax trim for them to set up the teeth right away, right? If they don't have a wax trim and that wax trim is not in the right place, in the right plane with the face and everything, they can make beautiful teeth, but when they put those teeth in the mouth, those teeth are going to be canted, midline off, things like that, right? It looks beautiful on the desk, but we want to make sure it looks beautiful in the patient mouth at the same time. So that's why they need a face bow, and they need those wax trims in the proper plane so they can set up the teeth accordingly. And basically here is the same thing digitally. The face will do that job for you. So once you have this, so now we have the face, we have everything aligned. And the first thing I like to do is I like to click on this button right here. Once I set it up, now the articulator comes in 0 position. So here, I'm gonna start moving the face inside the virtual articulator. So I'm gonna look for the condyles, I'm gonna look for the pin. In this case, I'm using Artec's articulator. So I love this design. So I just start putting the face there. So, and how do we find the natural head position of these patients, right? Like we don't have to have like, like nothing level to the floor. So we're able to find this position in Exocad with the face. So here, I'm trying to make sure that the patient head is not like facing down or facing up. I'm looking for a nice profile view. So I always tell my students, my attendees, hey, always see that in this side right here on the right side of your screen, there's a big mirror, and the patient is looking at that mirror so they can put, they put their head straight to it. It's when we go to the restroom, right, and we see our faces, in the mirror, we always put our face like straight. So that's basically the position that we're looking for here. And I can see a nice, imaginary angle right here from the chin to the nose and the nose to the forehead. And that's what I'm looking for here. So I follow the pin because the patient's faces are different, sizes. So the condyles of the articulator won't match all the time. So I try to follow the pin and I put it there. So once I have the face in proper position there, and I can see from profile, then I just go jump to from the top here, and then just see if the patient, I turn off the articulator, and I want to see if the patient is turning this way or this way. When I press control on Exocad, I'm able to rotate this. This is a nice tool that Exocad has, in the latest version, that I'm able to rotate the facial scans or objects accurately, like in that orientation accurately and precisely. So now I just I double check here to make sure that everything looks in ideal position. I can see the cheeks, I can see the forehead, and I can see the nose right there, right? So I'm able to rotate and do this changes here. So then once I'm done with that one, now I'm gonna go straight here. In this case, for me, I like to turn off the color of the facial scan because that way I can visualize, the face properly. So once I do this, I like to use the background lines of Exocad so that way I can see, that I can straighten the face. In this case, we have the facial scans with the eyes closed. And one of the reasons is because our facial scanner, has a flash, right? So what we do is, even if we have the eyes open, we're not gonna be able to see the pupils of the eyes. So because it's gonna get distorted, it's like watery there, right? So the scanner won't be able to pick it up. Even if I try to scan the eye with an intro scanner, it's not gonna scan that. So what do we do is we just have the patient close the eyes, and we're gonna use the inner canthus of the patient's eyes, and that's how we're gonna put it straight. We're gonna use the background lines, and we're gonna straighten that face accordingly. So it's because like some patients, right, like one eye is higher than the other, and then if we use the pupils, the face is gonna look like crooked like this, right? and I'm not gonna make my smile design like that. I'm gonna try to put the face straight in front of me, and that's how I'm gonna be able to, find that my design is not gonna be canted. So once I do this, I can see the inner cantons of the eyes right there. And once I have this, right, I'm able to put the face straight. And I also have the options to just do this and rotate the face accurately. So that's one of the nice things on Exocad, those features. And I'm able to still like do this and rotate the face like this. So that way I want to make sure the patient head is right in front of me, right? And I can see right now, put my head in front of the monitor and I can see the patient is just straight at me. So once I do this, I just turn on the articulator and I just move everything back to the pin right there. So then I'm gonna go ahead and start turning on the midline. The midline here is very paper thin. The only thing I do is I just move it here and I go from the bottom. And I can correct if I need to move the midline and follow like this part of the nose with the lip and the glabella right here. Once I feel like, okay, I like this midline and I can leave it there or just move it slightly like this, and you can place the face according to the midline of the articulator here. Once the facial scan is there, now we just leave it there. Everything is touching the pin. Everything is there, the condyles, everything. So now I'm able to have a more accurate position of the face. And because of the intraoral scans, they follow the face. Now I have proper position of my jaws, the proper plane right here, right? And I can come and start looking for for these planes right here and start changing the angle here, right? I can just come and start looking for the the information here for the proper angle, right? I can just do this, the Ella tragos and all that. I can do that. So, but for me, I don't like to use this one. So I have my own guidelines that I'm going to use for this case. So once I have everything in position, right, I'll leave the face there. I click OK. Then I need to save. This new position of my facial scans and the intro scans. Then the only thing I need to do here is I need to start, the movements and then click OK. So once I do this, now I have the face in the proper plane, in the proper position in this empty space inside Exocad. So now I can go here, 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 and here. So now I have the patient natural head position right there, and nothing from here. I can fix all the problems, right? I can see if I need to make my centros longer, how to fix the plane of occlusion, how to fix the curvus P, how to fix the buccal corridors, and I have a lot of information here, especially from the facial scan in this position. If it's scanted, I can fix it and all these things. So now the next step that I like to do is, I like to bring my guidelines. I don't use the Smart Creator because I feel like it takes time for me to do that setup when I can just simplify it and make it a little bit more efficient by utilizing guidelines that I have developed, for Exocad. So I'm gonna go and look for this ones, and I just drag and drop this one, and I'm gonna bring us generic. So since I was able to save the facial scans in 0 position, now I'm gonna be able to just drag and drop this file. So in this case, I have it already there. So I'm just gonna delete the first one, which is this one, because that's the first one that I brought in. So now I have this guideline here. This is gonna be the golden proportion. It's gonna give me the width, the height of the teeth, the height of the papillas, the incisal edges, is the curvus P, the width of the lowers, everything. Everything is just listed here. So this is by default 8 millimeters by 10.8. So 10 millimeters from green to green, and then from green to green right here, the height is going to be 10.8, and then extra lines right here is adding 0.5 more in case I need to make these teeth wider. So the only thing I need to do here is I need to find a new incisal edge position for my patient, right? And the only way I can find it is if I'm gonna go and use repose. Aesthetically, the study says that if we show at least 2 millimeters of incisal, we're gonna be able to get nice aesthetics, right? A beautiful smile, because patient is gonna show enough teeth and repose and also in the natural smile. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure 2 millimeters from this part right here, and each square in the background is 1 millimeter. So that tells me that my new incisor position is going to be just right there. Okay, so that means that I will have to make this incisor a little shorter, right, based on this. But not only that, I have to visual, because this patient, probably is like 50, 55, is still young, right? The muscle of the lip is there. If it's like a 70, 80, 90 years old, then I wouldn't focus too much in the repose. I will focus more in the Duchenne smile. Okay, so that's how that's one of the benefits that facial scanners provide me. And since 10 years ago when I started using Artec, I was designing these cases with 2D photos, right? And I was always I wasn't feeling confident, that we were going to deliver a case properly, right? I always, had that hesitation in my mind. I hope it looks good. I hope it looks good, right? But now when I do these cases with a 3D facial scanner, you know, I can do this, just like that. Because now I feel more comfortable. I feel confident, no matter what. That this smile is gonna look just like as this right here. When we deliver in the patient mouth. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start using the Duchenne smile. The Duchenne smile is gonna give me where I want, in Duchenne smile, I wanna just have white teeth, right? I just want the teeth to show here and hide the pink. So that tells me that when I came and set up my incisal edge position in repose, right, I was able to see the 2 millimeters plus the Duchenne smile is gonna show me white only. That means only teeth, and then pink is gonna be just right there. So that tells me that I'm good. So the repose and the Duchenne smile work really good for me. So, and how do I know this? Where do I learn this, Fernando? Like, what you're explaining. I got trained for 5 years from a course instructor, Dr. Armireles. He's my mentor. I consider like I went to school for 5 years to learn all this, and being with him in a daily basis, case by case, for 5 years. And I got well trained by this doctor. And that was one of the reasons I decided to go work for Dr. Mireles at that time, 5 years ago, because I knew as a technician, your knowledge was from here was going to go all the way up, because will be able to learn more than I knew at that time. So that's why I took that decision to go work for him and learn from a course instructor. And I'm glad I took that decision, because now I feel confident, that I can do whatever case I get, and I understand it, and we don't have to go through try-ins, because that's one of the big problems in dentistry right now, that when we don't know how to do this case, and then we feel like, let's go a try-in, because we don't feel confident, right, that this case is going to look good, this case is going to go good in the patient mouth. So that's why there's so many appointments during this process, because dentists and technicians, they want to do try-ins first to make sure that it looks good, and once it looks good, they go to the next step. But once you have a proper workflow, the proper facial scanner, and the proper step-by-step design protocol, you feel confident doing these cases, especially for those, there's patients that come to our office with very bad teeth, and we just scan the faces, scan the teeth, and we know what to do based on all of these concepts and that experience that I learned from my mentor, Dr. Mireles. And that's what I encourage every technician, go work in the in-house lab, go work, but go learn from a good doctor, because not every doctor knows that information, especially occlusion, function, aesthetics, and all these things. Go learn from a doctor that is it's an instructor, is teaching, and that's how you're gonna get the experience, because you're gonna ask a bunch of questions to these doctors that know occlusion, aesthetics, and that's how you're gonna observe that information and put it in your brain, and just apply it in Exocad. So that's what happened to me, and I'm glad that I took that decision. And now these cases are fun, because I know what I'm doing, because I learned from my mentor how to do these cases. So now we have this now, because if I don't have the facial scan, right, this is important to know, and this is what happened in dentistry right now. Like, we just get this denture, and the doctor's gonna say, oh, just follow the denture. That's the first thing they're gonna put you in the lab slip. And And we go and okay, let's do it, let's follow. And then we start just putting the denture following this thing, the teeth following this denture. And then, patient is not happy. Patient said the teeth are too long, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know why. And, and here I just did this and I know why, these teeth were too long because they were not properly set in the face, right? They were just set up in a stone model, and that's it. So hoping that it's going to look good in the mouth, but I can see right away that it doesn't look good. And but having the facial scan, we can nail any case. Veneers, we have workflows for veneers, overdentures, dentures, crown and bridge, all of these cases. We have protocols, and how to do these cases. So that's how confident we feel, doing these cases. So now I know where I'm gonna put my incisal edge position. It's gonna be right there. And then probably once I start the design, if I see that the lower is there and I'm gonna compromise my design, I'm just gonna try to make it a little longer. And those are the beautiful things that, once you start doing these cases, you understand how to troubleshoot it, right? You understand how to set it up properly. So in case, okay, my lowers, are not in the ideal setup, how I'm gonna fix this, right? And that's one of the nice things that, you learn like when you're doing these cases, right? Because here I can see that, yeah, I'm gonna have to bring the teeth lower because I can imagine my setup right there, right? So now I'm gonna start the case. I know my incisal edge position and I just leave it there, right? And also when I'm doing my double arches, I like to do like, wax trims. Wax trims are basically, STLs that I developed that I just come and then start using them like that. And for single arches, I don't really use them much because it's not a big deal to make a single arch. So and then I just slide it based on my pre-op, and then I just go height because you have to think digitally, right? You have to always see what's out there in the analog world, and then you just convert it into digital. So because a wax trim, what's the purpose of a wax trim in the analog world? Is to, for the wax, the teeth will follow the wax trim, right? Because everything is set, everything is fixed, midline, plano occlusion, curvus PA, buccal corridor, everything is there. And then our teeth setup is just gonna follow that. So the same concept, I love to apply, convert that information into digital, and that's how I make it happen. So now we have the same thing with the wax trims. I have, everything there, and then I can see that it's following everything, and I follow the Duchenne smile there, and I want to see how it look good in the face, for this case. And then if I need to improve the curve speed, the only thing I need to do is I just gonna make, this like this, and then I just lower it. I follow the plane of the existing teeth here, and I just pretty much follow the corners of the mouth to make sure that I don't, it's not gonna look like a reverse smile in the back. Okay, I have to always pay attention to those little details as well. So then I said, okay, this looks beautiful now, and I'm gonna go to the next one, which is, the Duchenne smile, see how it's gonna look like, looks beautiful. Let's go to repose. Repose is not gonna give me much information. So, and then let's say you like that position based on this one. Plus the other benefit, that the dentists and lab technicians struggle with these cases is that where do I put the teeth, right? We already know now where we're gonna put the incisal edge position, but now how much do I need to bring them out? Do I need to bring them in? How do we know that? And the only thing I do is I just turn on the natural smile. I put the profile view. I see their lip support, and it's right there. It looks beautiful in the mouth, in the face, the lip support. So what does that mean? That I just need to follow, that denture, the facial, surface of this denture, because the lip support is there. So if the lip support is the lip looks too bulky, and it's because we move the denture out, so that tells me that I need to go, let's say it depends on 2-3 millimeters in, and that's going to fix the lip support. That's one of the advantages that we have using a 3D facial scan. It's a three-dimensional, it's not a 2D photo. So that's one of the things. And I try to explain this many times in social media, to make sure that every dentist know how to use a facial scanner, every technician know how to use a facial scanner, because it's not just a facial scan, but the other facial scan also gives you a lot of information to make sure that we don't make mistakes on remakes for these cases. because we don't want the patient to say, oh, I don't like this, my lip looks too bulky, or my lip looks too collapsed. Because, you know, if we don't have a facial scan and we just follow this, we don't know how it looks like, how this looks like in the face. But now with a facial scan, we have plenty of information right there. So now we have all that information. We have the wax trim, we have everything there. If this looks good in the face, we can just come and start, you know, making it fit this wax trim to make fit the you know the you know the geometry of the jaw, and then we can just go and start doing this. I'm sorry, I'm gonna just move this on this one here. I'm not planning to move everything there. And then the nice thing is that we can use Exocad to narrow the jaw like this and start going like this, and see right here. Now we're pretty much following everything as is, right? So this is what this doesn't mean that I put a wax trim in the patient face in the chair. No, this is just an STL that I developed. Just, you know, because when we're designing these cases, right, as a designer, we're looking for ways to make our process much easier, right? And what I like to do is I like to see the analog work, how they make these things, and then I just try to, you know, convert that information into digital. So now I have, you know, everything where I want it, and I can say, okay, I like this one, and I can just expand it, maybe just because, remember, this is a screw retain. We still have room to expand the teeth because everything is fixed. Once it's denture, we have to keep them, you know, on top of those ridges, you know, and there's some other exceptions too. So I have everything there. Now I want to make sure that my wax trim doesn't look like, you know, it's gonna be off, right? It's gonna be canted. So I'm gonna go and check this dot right here, and then just make my changes. Now everything this matched to the background lines, so that tells me it's good. So now I can just come and say, okay, now I'm done. Everything is set, right? And these things are basically done in expert mode. We've been talking to Exocad to make them more like a wizard mode, so that way everybody can do it. You don't have to be an expert to do this, because the wizard mode will take care of that for you. Okay, so just stay tuned on those things. That's something that is coming. So that means that it's going to be more 3D visually driven workflows, right? Using the faces, because remember, I have to import the faces manually from the Remove mesh. There's nothing on Exocad on the DB project to have faces. So, you know, big things are coming, guys. So that way Exocad will be much better for this type of cases. Okay. So now once I have that, so now I can just easily jump to wizard mode, and you know, the software now is going to ask me for Smart Creator. I don't need Smart Creator anymore, because I developed my, you know, files that are going to help me for that. So I can skip Smart Creator. If you like to use it, go for it. I'm not against that. You know, many people use it, but for me, I feel more efficient doing it this way. So now I can just come, and the software here in this step is asking me for a wax up bottom, because I selected Ponte wax up, and it's fine. I can just go and set this direction. Otherwise, it won't let me go to the next step, because I'm gonna add virtual gingiva on this one as well. So I'm just gonna wait for the software to finish this step, and I'm gonna go to the next one. So now the software here is asking me to, you know, create two setup. In this case, you know, now I feel comfortable doing this the place tooth model setup here, right? And why? Is because I already have everything already here. All right, let me delete this custom views. So I already have everything here, right? Remember, the wax trim is already in place. So now the technician can start doing the setup, right? But if I don't have this, you know, it doesn't make sense for me for the software to give me teeth. If I don't have the proper orientation on my models, I don't have the proper incisors, I don't have anything. So all I'm doing is putting teeth there. That's why when I see posts on social media without, you know, guidelines, without facial scans, I'm like, you know, I wish I can, you know, share in what I know, and so the way they can start, you know, seeing this with, you know, different perspective. So, but that's why, you know, we're doing this webinar, so you guys, you know, can see, you know, how we're doing, how Instaris is doing these cases. You know, so that way, you know, I hope this will help you, you know, to get these cases, you know, done properly. So now I'm gonna go ahead and select I like to use the Rob Tully oval shape teeth. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So from here, right, I need to know what's gonna be the ideal size of these teeth, right? In this case, he's a big patient based on his face. I can see that, he's a big male patient, probably like 5'11", 5'12". He's a big guy. So that means that I'm not gonna give him small teeth. I need to make sure that I give him at least 8.5 to 11 millimeters size. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and make this transparent, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start moving this, and then I'm gonna try to follow. See, from here, I can kind of tell if I like that height of that tooth. I'm just gonna try to preserve that right there, right? When I'm scaling it, so all the teeth are gonna be a scale. They're gonna scale at the same time to the right, dimensions, following the centrals. So I don't have to worry about scaling to here, scaling here, because I don't want to change that. I want to keep everything the same. So plus I can see that 8 and 9, they look pretty much like ideal width right here, and then ideal width right there, right? So now I pretty much have the proper width of this teeth based on this view, right? So once I have that, I can just go jump next, and then in this mode, I can do one thing. Let's say if you didn't set it up like this, right? So one thing you can do also is, like, if you want the software to give the original size of this library, one thing you can do is you can just go to load custom view once you are in this step in the tooth placement, and then just click again, just click OK, say yes, and then the software is gonna give you a nice arch of teeth. Okay, so and then you can see there that everything there. The only thing I need to do is I go to chain mode, and these teeth by default, they come in kind of like 10 point something. Those are too big right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale them to everything to be like 8.5, kind of like somewhere there, right? So this is 10, so 8, 9, pretty much 8 right there. So that means that that's gonna be my ideal width and my ideal height. So I don't have to worry about scaling 2 by 2 because I want to preserve that dimension all the time. So that's one thing you can do. And then now once I have the ideal width and height, I'm gonna turn off the scalable part. And I'm just gonna drop him. I'm just gonna slide those teeth, and I'm just gonna go here, and I'm gonna go pretty much here, and I need to check the midline. Now I'm gonna lock these parts right here, and I'm just gonna wide open them and wide open them. And you can see that everything is just ready to go. And right now I'm following the denture, but also I need to see where the midline is gonna be, right? And we said that we're gonna have, the same right here up to there. And I need to see if these teeth are in the proper profile, the angle of this teeth, right? Based on the face. Said, okay, you know what? I think that these teeth are pretty much good. Maybe a little bit inside edge coming out, but I like them, right? So that means that I'm just gonna pretty much follow everything there. I'm gonna go to turn off this one so the way I can just try to move everything. I'm gonna make it everything in the chain, and I'm just gonna move it like this, just like that, because I saw the profile and I like the profile and the angle of this teeth, right? So now I can just come and say, okay, now I'm just gonna go from profile. I'm gonna lock him in the back, but remember, I have this already off, the scalable part, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just up this one, and I'm gonna turn on the wax trim. I have the wax trim here, antagonist, and then I'm just gonna go turn off that one, and I'm just gonna follow this, right? I'm just gonna go and turn off that one, and then start moving this here. I'm gonna try to get a nice overjet there. I'm gonna lift this here because I want to follow my plane, right? Pretty much right there. So then I have it in a nice occlusion, and probably I'm just gonna push him just a little bit just to create a nice overjet. So the patient, that's important to know too. If I leave an edge to edge, what's gonna happen is the patient is gonna bite the lip, their cheeks. I'm sorry. So okay. So now I'm gonna turn this off because I want to move him a little bit forward, based to my wax trim, right, or my pre-op right there. So that way I can just come, start sliding it there. So because I know that the lip support is right on this patient, So then I can just go back, lock him. So then I'm just gonna go here, and we say that we're gonna keep him, in this case, following this, right? So, but here, this is one thing that is nice to know, is that when we do this setup, right? See the teeth right here are gonna be showing a space right here. So that means that I'm gonna have to just push him in just a little bit, because I want to make sure that I'm not gonna have that space right there. So I'm gonna go, I'll push him in just a little bit, just to kind of keep him close. And I'm just gonna go straight, and I'm just gonna move him down, and I'm just gonna compromise a little bit there. So I'm gonna try to keep him edge to edge, because otherwise it's gonna show the space right there. So, and then later, once we do both, I can tell the doctor, hey doc, I have two options here. I can leave my design option ideal, like where it is right now, right here, right? Leave it there, and then the patient, what's gonna happen here, the patient's gonna have that space there. And then we can tell the patient, okay, now we're just gonna fix the lower down for the next time. Or the other option is, I can just bring everything just right here down, kind of like edge to edge. And I tell the patient, okay, you're still gonna have a space right there, but we're gonna, fix it with once we do the lower. Because this lower seems like could be like acrylic with denture teeth. It's not a final, because you can see that everything is, the worked down right there. So that means that we still have, a chance to fix these things, right? So now we're gonna go to this one, and we're gonna go start lifting, because it's in occlusion right there. And then we're just gonna bring this higher. I'm gonna go and lock this one. So I'm gonna lift this one here. So I'm gonna go and start show distances. I'm gonna go proximity, turn off dynamic for now, and I'm gonna put 0.5, because I want my contact to be in 0. So I can visualize this right away. Okay, so I can see my teeth right there. I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm just gonna come and start lifting it here, and I try to put in that ideal occlusion right there first, and then later I can just say, okay, now I have it properly there, and now I can just go to this one. Before I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go turn on this one, and I'm gonna create a custom view pretty much right there. So what I mean by that is, like, this is following the midline, and this line is following the incisor position. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead. Probably I'm gonna change the incisor position and bring him down a little bit, because remember, we're gonna fix that later, and now we're gonna give that option to the dentist. I communicate that to the dentist, said, hey doc, I'm gonna leave space in the lower and anterior area, but we're gonna fix it, later. Or we can leave it open, and then you just explain to the patient that it's gonna have a gap right there, and then we can fix it for the lower. So now we don't compromise anything, and just makes everything much easier that way. But that's something that you have to communicate. I want to do it that way, but that's something that I need to communicate with the dentist, so both are in the same page. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and just push him in a little bit, so the way I can close that gap as much as possible. So I'm gonna go and move everything back from here, and I'm just gonna go tiny in. So, and I'm just gonna lock everything in the back, so the way nothing changes. So now I can just go here little by little, start, making here, just bring them in occlusion, bring everything down. So, and then I'm just gonna bring everything here, everything there. I put this one, and this one higher. So possibly the anteriors are gonna be out of occlusion. Now from here, I want to make sure that, I want to give a proper, incisor position. That's why I created this. So this is going to be my new incisor position, my midline right there. So I create a custom view. I delete the first one, because now I modify everything. So from here, I want to make sure that I'm going to start setting up like denture setup, right? I'm going to give the proper angulation of the teeth. I have my 8 and 9 in proper position, and I check everything right there. Everything looks beautiful right there from the top. And that's something that you can see, how this dental technicians that are setting down denture teeth, they do, right? They put their fingers on the teeth, they go here inside to side, and that's how you can, apply those techniques here to help you. So now I can see the inclination of the teeth right there, and I just lock it. Then by default, I'm gonna keep this one to be at least 0.5 millimeters shorter than the incisal. double check with the patient, double check with the doctor if they like to have like, canine, centrals and laterals even, but for me, I like to keep in 0.5 a little higher from there. So, and then I go and start checking here, start turning my, I just imagine like, doing this analog, putting the antagonist, touching the tooth like this. And that's how you can make it easier to understand when you're doing these teeth setups. And then I'm just gonna move everything here. I'm like, okay, I feel happy with that. Now I lock it. Now let's go to the next one. And then I'm gonna go on this one and I'm just gonna bring it out a little bit, just like this, and then bring it in and like that. So to give that contact. So now I put it from the front and I wanna make sure that I kind of hide that distal tooth a little bit. I'm sorry, the distal right here of that tooth, if possible. So now I want to make sure that here, I'm going to keep this one to be a little bit even or above in this case, because I'm trying to keep, I would like to bring this 0.3 higher than the lateral, but in this case, I want to keep it in occlusion and I don't want to make it bulky because I can see that surface from the front. Okay, so I'm going to have to compromise a little bit the aesthetics there, but I know that I can fix that at the end for the final because I'm going to do upper and lower at the end. So now I have that one already in position, and then I can just go from there. So now from here, that's when I'm gonna start, checking the curve speed, right? From here, I wanna see, okay, I wanna make sure that the curve speed looks good in the face, and I'm looking for, like something to find a nice proper plane. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a flat card like that I can use and put it just right, on the teeth, right? Something like this. So that way you just follow that flat line and it's just gonna give me more information. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a business card. So in this case, I'm gonna use, sorry, there's a credit card here. So I just come and I'm just gonna put that information here. And then it's just gonna match the incisal to the incisal of the canine to the first to the mesial cusp of the buccal cusp of the first molar right there. Okay, so it has to match, and I can see where the lip is, the corner, and I'm just gonna put it on the software and the design, and I'm just gonna say like, okay, I'm just gonna go this, and everything just needs to follow nicely there. If I'm happy with this, I can visualize if the curve speed looks good, if I need to lift it, but also at the same time, I need to see, if it's in good occlusion right here, just like this. Okay, so that way, once I fix the right side of the patient, I'm happy and I said, okay, now I'm done. And I can see that everything looks good. And I'm just gonna visualize it from the side and then start moving, I call it like the banana effect, right? The banana effect is just looks from the profile. When you put the bananas like that, they look nice. So I like to see that here. So I'm gonna bring this out because I wanna make sure the patient cheek is not gonna come on the way and I don't want this patient to be biting that. Now from the profile, I can see that, that is right there and I wanna just move it out, this tooth right here. And I see from different views because aesthetically, I want this to look nice, okay? So now I can just go here and I'm gonna double check use my curve speed. Okay, perfect, it looks good. And I just leave it there. So now the right side is fixed, right? Once I do this, now I can see that, if it looks good in the face, it's gonna look good in the patient's mouth, okay? So now I can say, okay, now from 8 to the molar right there is already fixed. Everything is a nice occlusion, and I'm just gonna leave it there. Probably this one, I'm not gonna bring it out more. I'm just gonna take care of that, later in the free forming, or I can go to advanced and then just move it here as well. And I can take care in this stage, I can take care of the adjustments of the occlusion too at the same time. I can just come and start moving, see, so that way they can come in occlusion right away, which is pretty much right there. Put them in contact, and I can just take care of that, so I don't have to do much work later. Okay, so that's something that we can do also in the tooth placement. So now here I just go to this one. Now since I have the this already fixed, I'm just gonna try to change the angulation of this tooth here so everything follows in a nice curvature. Everything looks good there. Now I'm gonna go and bring this down, lateral down right there, and follow a nice inclination of this lateral. So I'm gonna just bring it out more, and I just start checking different views to make sure it looks good here. And I wanna make sure that I follow a nice curvature here of the buccal incisors and buccal cusps. They're lining up, and then also the fossas and the lingual cusps, and then the incisors right here. So now I can see that, this looks good there, and the different views. So the way aesthetically it's gonna look nice in the face. So I go closer. Now I just start moving this a little higher right there. And I'm looking for, these V's right here to make sure that, it's gonna look beautiful in the face as well. So now I can just go jump to lock this tooth. It's already fixed. That tooth is in the wax, right? In the wax room. Remember, we have a digital wax room here, and that's basically what we're doing here, right? So now that tooth is locked. I'm gonna go from the top. I wanna make sure the curve looks good. I can just modify this teeth a little bit more right here and a little bit more right here. So the way they're gonna look better from the front. Okay, and same thing on this one. Once I'm happy with that one, then I'm gonna just jump to make sure I didn't move anything. Change that. Now I'm gonna go to the canine. Level this one with this one. Everything is there. So now everything is level. I need to check the opposing to see if we need to bring it out a little bit so the way the patient doesn't bite the lips. So everything looks good there. Now I'm gonna go to the next one. Canine is fixed. Bring it down a little bit so it's level to this one. Lock it. Now I'm gonna go to the premolar, first premolar, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna just go check this one. I don't like the inclination, the angle of this one, and I'm just gonna try to create a nice banana effect. And then I'm gonna go to this one, and I'm gonna go down, and then just bring it down right there. First premolar, first premolar. So, and I feel like, okay, this looks good. I'll take it out a little bit, and then I can push that in later. So it looks beautiful. The inclination, everything is there. Now let's go to the next one. Let's go to the second premolar. The background line here, the horizontal plane, and I'm just gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna do this, looks good. Perfect, let's go down. Everything is there. Remember, this is kind of like the base, the base plate on the articulator when the guys are setting up the teeth, right? You have a base and then they set it up so the way everything looks flat to all the cuts follow the plane of that base on the articulator. Same concept here, okay? So that's why I like to bring those ideas and digitize them and apply them here. So now I'm gonna go to this one, the molar, and I'm just gonna go do this. I wanna see the inclination. Maybe I can change a little bit the angle and just create the nice banana effect. And then turn on the, the articulator. It looks good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and compare if my curve is being moved a little bit higher. Now I can just bring this out tiny bit, check back. Beautiful. So now I have everything there, right? Everything is ideal. I have my ideal setup. I didn't have to stretch, scale, or anything like that. Why? It's because from the beginning, I asked the software I just stretch him to the ideal, width and the height. That way I don't have to worry about, making this the same as this one, because I already did that from the beginning. So I can save that time. So from here, I just go next. In this case, I can just go back just to fix this occlusion by going to, the section advanced. Then I can just go here, and then I can just start, for example, moving a little bit right there. So I just want to make sure that this doesn't distort much the tooth, okay? So that way it's less for me to start, modifying the occlusion. So it didn't distort much my anatomy. It's just easy right away for me to just get my occlusion properly. The occlusion, that's something that you have to communicate with the doctor to see what type of occlusion they like, and then they just, you guys do the same occlusion for the doctor. So from here, if I want to save this teeth setup for future cases, for future, I can just, make an ideal, fix everything and make it look nice. So the way I can reuse them for future cases as well. So, and then you can create your, nice setup library and save them and then reuse them, as wax ups later. So now from here, I'm gonna go ahead and start closing. Let's say what I like to do from here is that I like to close this papillas right here, so the way I don't gonna have like a lot of pink showing there. So I want to close this areas, so the way it's gonna aesthetically it's gonna look much better than having a lot of pink right there. Okay, that's very important for you guys to know, because we need to make sure that we show more teeth than pink. Okay, so now I'm gonna go to this side, and I can try to close it from the back as well, so I don't change too much the anatomy of the teeth. Okay, so because I don't want to have too much pink right here showing in this papillas, because I have, sometimes I see a lot of designs and then the pink is all the way right here. Aesthetically, it doesn't look nice. So here I'm just gonna go from the back, so I can close, these areas, so I don't compromise, too much the anatomy in the front as well. So plus I'm reinforcing, everything from here too. So just try to pull it from an area where the software allows you to do it. And then I go from here, I go from here, I go from here, and close here, there. So, and also one of the things that I check is that the height of the ridges, the meso and distal ridges, to make sure that they're even, right? You don't want to leave one ridge higher than the other one. So there's a lot to know, once you start doing these cases, right? So, but it's fun once you understand those things. You're gonna have a good eye on how to handle these cases, and get it done the proper way. So you guys can start, doing these cases, by following those little details, right? So now once I have this, I said, okay, I'm gonna check the banana effects if I need to improve anything, if I need to pull certain areas in, things like that. So I can do that, take care of that here. If I want to change, we were talking about occlusion, right? The occlusion, if I want to fix the occlusion here, I want to make sure that my occlusion is going to be in the proper spots, right? So for example, here, right, if I want my lingual cuts to hit the fossa of the lowers, right, they need to just be right here, and I can see from here, right, I can see that this lingual cusp is hitting the fossa, like pretty much in the distal ridge right there. And then from here, I can just pull this one here and just try to hit it right in this right ridge, distal ridge right there. This is hitting kind of like the fossa. I can push that in, and then right there in the fossa, and get rid of this contact right here. One thing I can tell the doctor, if I want to leave an ideal design right there, I can just say, hey doc, just trim that tooth more. Okay, so I still have those options. And that's why when you understand this, you educate the doctor at the same time, and so the way they know what to expect when they're going to deliver these cases. So if you want to take care of the design of the occlusion here, you can just get it done here. Put the contacts where they need to be, or you can take care of that when you go to the next step, when everything is merged. Okay, so now we're just going to go. Occlusion is very important, because remember, if the occlusion is not right, there's going to be a lot of breakages, a lot of implant failures, and all these things. So we need to make sure that we understand that, so we minimize that. Now here, I just go next, and I'm going to start adding the gingiva. So here, right before I do this, I like to know how much of bone I'm going to cut, right, based on on the facial expression, right? Remember, we start the Instarisa workflow start from the face, from the outside to the inside. Okay, we don't start from here, right? Because this is not going to help me. That's why I tell doctors, I try to educate doctors that are doing a lot of surgical guys, that hey, just don't plan your implant position or surgical guys on this, because if my design is going to be way different, and then now the implant plane is going to be in different position from my small design. So always do the small design and then plan your case, so it's going to be more accurate than me doing my guides following this denture. Okay, because Instarisa start from the face, from the outside to the inside. So now from here, I'm gonna go ahead and start, checking the facial scans in Duchenne Smile. And then I wanna make sure, see, from Duchenne Smile, the goal of the Duchenne Smile here is to hide the transitional line. So what does that mean? I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping this and then just go count 4 millimeters apical from this to here. So that way I know that I'm gonna cut enough bone, and I'm not gonna go, like, hey, just go ahead and cut 20 millimeters of bone. No, we wanna preserve as much bone as possible, especially if it's your mom or your dad, right, or your brother. So we wanna make sure that, we understand this, so that way we don't destroy that bone, because, especially as 40, 50 years old, we want to make sure that they have enough bone, so the way, this will last longer, right? So because bone will dissolve in time, like it's gonna, get smaller in time. So we want to make sure that we maintain enough bone, so that way this can last longer. So close the holes, and we just leave it there. Unfortunately, Exocad doesn't have a nice cut tool, like flat tool, so I can close it properly. It just adds more material. But the one thing you can do is also you can go to freeform scan data, plan how much you're gonna cut. You can use this one, full pane, or just go and start using these tools as well, based on the expression of the Duchenne smile. So let's say I want to go higher, because when it closes, it just makes everything, adds material, right? But if I want to go like this, I can just go and start chopping, lowering there, and make it flat. Or like I told you, you can go with the other tool and then make it smaller. So what I'm doing this, Fernando, why are you doing this? Is because, remember, when I'm gonna do my small design, I want to keep my integrity of the gingiva up to, the bone reduction, right? So the way when I finish the case, it's just gonna be so much easier for me, so I don't have to add too much material on the integrity of the bridge, right? So then I will have to just remodify the virtual wax at bottom, because otherwise, see how much difference they are right there. So then we're just gonna update. So the software will just adapt to this one. So that way it just makes my job easier when I, start working on the surgical, adaptation of the implants with the wax up. So then from here, I'm gonna go jump back to wizard mode. Let's say I have my ideal bone reduction. And then from here, I'm just gonna go and use 2, 1, 2. And then I'm just gonna, if I know that it's gonna be right here, I just kind of try to stay on top of the tissue. So my design is not gonna be concave. I want it to be convex. Okay, and then I just pretty much put it ideal, make sure that it's not gonna look faint in certain areas, so it's gonna be even across the arch. So, and then I just go here, and then same thing here. I wanna put the tissue right here on top of it. I don't wanna put it on undercuts right there, because remember, we wanna create an oblique pontic shape integral, so the way it's easier for the patient to clean those areas. Right? I don't want to put my tissue up to there, because otherwise, when the patient's eating and they cannot clean that's gonna stink, right? And we have seen that when that happens. So from here, I'll go to the next step. Now, from here, right? The things that I like to do is, when I see this, I just start. I have my protocols. I start pulling, start pulling, so the way I know what I'm doing every time I'm in this stage. I'm pulling, 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 and you can see that I was able to close, the surfaces on the teeth in the interproximal area, so the way I don't, my design is not gonna show too much papillas, too much pink right there. So now I'm gonna go here and start pulling those papillas. Imagine this is, if you haven't seen videos of how, the technicians, they do, this type of cases with wax, right? They add a bunch of wax on there. They do that nice setup. They start melting a lot of wax on top, and they're gonna start peeling off the wax and all those things. So that's kind of like what I like to do here. I start throwing a lot of, filling these holes right here, this concave areas, start making it more round, like, fill those areas, right? So, and I built a lot of wax right there. So now I'm gonna get the torch, right? And I'm gonna start melting that wax to get a nice shape. So now I can just try to go and start, keep minimal thickness. So 1.5, I just turn that off. And then I'm gonna just turn that off. So now I can just go ahead and start, melting the wax, right? So once you start seeing those videos, it just makes sense what you're doing here. It just makes everything so much easier, much fun, right? Because they're like, oh, okay, I know where this technique is coming from. And now, once you see that, it's like, oh, okay, I thought I was not doing it right, right? But when you see those videos from analog, wax and all that, this makes much more sense to you. So it makes it easier to understand this technique. And then I just go right away, start, getting the torch, you know. So and I just go here all around and then start going here. Because if I start smoothing right away, then the material is not going to be spreaded properly. And then I'm going to have to go back and start filling areas, right? Now from here, I like to make sure that everything looks even, a nice horseshoe shape, because I don't want to have like thin areas, thick areas, right? Same thing here. So once I have a nice area here, and remember, this is going to be up to the bone reduction. So you're going to make my life easier once I'm done. So now, Fernando, what are you going to do with the pharyngeal margin? So here, remember, we said that we're going to go with the facial scan. That's why it's a 3D facially driven design, because we're using the face to get the design. We're not just doing this, right? Because if I do this, I'm hesitating. I'm guessing. So now I'm gonna go ahead and start doing this. If I'm gonna try to keep it there, and then later once it's merged, I'm gonna try to just pull it so I don't, show this junction of the teeth here, right? If the neck of the tooth, the CJ is there, right? So I don't change it. So I don't compromise that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding material. So here I'm gonna try to keep it a little bit higher so that way for reinforcement, right? So because the patient is not gonna be able to see the lingual side, and that way I can, prevent breakages in this case for these cases. So in the buccal and facial, yes, I'm gonna try to get a nice shape, but in the lingual, it doesn't really matter because you cannot see. But at the same time, I'm just gonna try to leave it nice and smooth from here so the patient tongue doesn't feel that bulky surfaces there. Okay, so once it's merged, I'm gonna try to take care of that as well. But first, I try to make a nice shape, right? So, and I need to communicate this with the doctor so that way they know, to cut, they need to know how much bone reduction I'm expecting. So they do it, but usually we have the CBCT here as well. So that way we can see if we're gonna have enough bone there. And I said like, okay, in the CBCT, I have the STL and I can say, okay, you know what? I can go and up to there because sometimes, we don't want to cut too much, right? We want to preserve bone as much as possible, and having the CBCT here aligned, just give us extra more information there, okay? So from here, I'm gonna leave it there because the neck is right there, but later I'm just gonna start pulling those areas so that way I can get a nice ideal position of this. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just pull these areas a little bit higher so that way the connector here will become better. Here, here. So I go here, I go here. So there. So once I have a nice ideal design, I don't want to go crazy yet with the gingiva, because remember, sometimes if the doctor doesn't trim, if you don't communicate with the doctor, if the doctor didn't cut enough bone, it doesn't matter if you make a nice, beautiful gingiva shape, and guess what? You're gonna have to destroy it because the doctor didn't cut enough bone, right? We didn't communicate that to the doctor. So now, we spend a lot of time trying to make nice, characterization on the gingiva when the doctor didn't cut it, and because they didn't know, right? But if you communicate that information, said, hey doc, I checked the CBCT and we can go cut up to here, but you guys gonna be, reviewing that case before, surgery as well. So once I have a nice ideal, tissue, right, I'm just gonna go in between here so that way it doesn't look too bulky in between, especially in between, here. I want to make it look nice in between the teeth, because this one I cannot modify it once it's merged. So I want to take care of that here so it follows a nice papilla right there. So once I'm done with this one, now I can say, okay, I'm happy with the design, looks beautiful, and then I just go next. And then later, once this is merged and all that, and I have the gingiva and all that of the surgery, now I can do nice characterization of my gingiva, make my nice, roots and shapes like that. So now the software is gonna generate the virtual wax up, and now I can, make my changes of my free gingival margins. And remember, I made the cut up to there, so the way the software is just gonna bring it up to there. So when I bring implant position and I convert everything, so now, everything is gonna be much easier for me. So once you start applying these techniques and these ideas, it just makes everything so much easier, especially for these cases, right? Because the goal is to, do a nice, beautiful setup and a beautiful smile, not just an okay smile. Because remember, in the U.S., patients are paying from $30,000 to $50,000 an arch. I want to make sure that if I'm paying $30,000 to $50,000 an arch, right? I want to make sure I get beautiful teeth, right? It's going to be worth it. And my goal is to, that be able to deliver that smile, so the patients, they feel like, it was worth it for them to do this procedure. Okay. So now I have this, I go to the next step. Then I can just come and start, creating a nice ideal, shape here, because remember, they're gonna cut bone, and I just need to make a nice ovate pontic shape here. I want to leave it ready to close to, how the bone is gonna be, and I need to make it like flat and even, because remember, when we do these cases, the doctor, the surgeons, they make a flat cut on the bone. So that's why we need to make this flat, because we cannot leave it bulky or anything like that, right? So the way biology, right, it's gonna just follow this, and then tissue is gonna form to this nice integral. So 6 months later, 3 to 6 months later, that tissue is gonna look beautiful. It's because of our design, and that's very important for technicians to notice when we're designing these cases, right? Understanding biology, so it just makes everything so much easier when we go to finals, because now we have nice tissue, and the tissue is going to adapt to this one, and now when you take it out, it looks beautiful there. You just make it much easier for us, right? So I make it ideal like this, and then from here I can start making everything little changes here. If I know that my tissue is going to be bone reduction there, so I need to make this more in, like a nice angle here, right? Make it more going inside, so the way it's going to save you time when you bring the surgical tissue right here. So now I'm gonna go here and start pushing that tissue in, so it looks much better with the new tissue there. So that's why I'm seeing from different angles. So it's gonna be cleansable, right? Right there, especially right here. I don't wanna leave that there. And I see it from profile, and I wanna get rid of that, because this needs to be a cleansable surface. So, and then I do the same thing on the lingual. When I come on the lingual, I want to make sure it looks nice and smooth and flat. So something here, and then see this bump area. I just try to get rid of those areas, and here too. So I see it from different angles, and I'm like, okay, looks beautiful there. I'm just gonna wait now for this one. Here, I try not to spend too much time on the tissue. But if you want to, you can start, making the shapes right here of the roots. Start making, pushing this in, just trying to create roots of this one. But remember, when we bring the tissue from surgery, we might change this information. Okay, so that's why I would just try to leave it more generic like this, and then later I just modify it. Okay, but that's up to you. My recommendation will be that. I know it happens to me that I make nice tissue, and then when I get the tissue from surgery, then I said like, oh, my tissue's up to here, and then I have to, smooth all that and destroy it, right? So now in the lingual, what I like to do is in this area especially, I like to kind of like come and start, making this right here. No, not too much, but less. So the way I just create nice reinforcement there. So the way especially, printing, right? I don't want those areas to be a weak spot and then break from there, right? I want to reinforce this pretty good. And then I just add this here, and I can just go and start bringing this out, so I can reinforce those surfaces. And I know that thing is not gonna break from there because that connector is, is wider, right? So now in the lingo, I can do that. I can just kind of like start smoothing, this, especially these areas right here. So the patient tongue feels much smoother and nicer there. So was remember, if you guys are using like Mio, things like that, or you just polish that area, it's not gonna affect anything there. But the most important for me is the facial and the bulk to look beautiful. That's we're gonna be able to see a nice, beautiful smile there. Then from here, I can just go back, and if I want to do my occlusion here, I can just go and start turning on show distances. I go to the show proximity, antagonist, 0.5. What I mean by 0.5, I want my main contact to be in pink right there. And then everything else that is within 0.5, let's say this is within 0.5 from my opposing. So from here, right, is within 0.5. So what does that mean? I want to get rid of it, because that way, when I do my dynamic occlusion, that's not going to be on the way, right? So I want to make sure that I get rid of this one. In this case, I have contact. Let's say if I want to fix this one right here, I can fix it. And I can tell the doctor, hey, I'm just trying to fix this one, or start moving the cusp, to the proper occlusion. In this case, this side looks good. This side looks, let's say, I would just come and just move that tooth right there to bring it right to the fossa of that tooth. And then same thing here. I will try to bring it here without changing the curve speed much, okay? Especially when I prefer to do double arches because of these things, right? It's not a big deal to have a one, but you just need to know where to put the contact on the opposing if it's just a single arch. When it's double arch, no big deal, because everything it's, in occlusion following everything, right? So once I do this, you have to communicate with the doctor. Say, hey, doc, anterior 7 to 10, lateral to lateral is going to be out of occlusion. And then, my teeth, posteriors from canine to the first molar is going to be in occlusion. And I'm going to try to make sure that I get an ideal, overjet here on my teeth, so the patient is not going to be biting the tongue all the time. So I just bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, and then just this out a little bit there. So I said, okay, now everything looks beautiful, ready for my occlusion, start adjusting. And I don't want, this is my handpiece, right? In the room, I put the articulating paper, tap, 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 and I'm like, okay, I see this occlusion. It's important for you to understand occlusion, because that way you can understand these colors, okay? So if that's not the case, you can ask dentists, that understand occlusion, they can educate you and all that. So for me, I learned this from Dr. Mireles, which is, who is a course instructor. And also with this video, you will have an idea what to do as well. So I'm gonna get the handpiece, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of this. I just wanted this mesiolingual cusp. Get rid of that, little bit contact there, nothing here. I don't want this right there. I just want turn on this one, and I'm gonna try to put it kind of like right here. That's not an ideal occlusion there, contact. There's somewhere there, but I need to make sure that it doesn't show from the top, from the front. And we're still okay. So I'll leave it there, and then here I'm gonna turn on this. This is in good contact point right there because it's in the ridge. How about this one? This one, yeah, it's also in good contact because I can see it is hitting right here too. So I can probably leave it there. Now it's gonna have contact there. How about this one right here? So I'm gonna go ahead and start turning on this one, and I don't want to have, anything right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this contacts right here. I don't want to have any contact in slide surfaces, right? Incline, like in this inclines right here. I don't want to have it there. Maybe right here is fine because this is the ridges right there. And then this is kind of like the fossa right there, right? So those are things that we need to pay attention when we're doing these cases, because this is our articulating paper and then our handpiece, grinding all this occlusion. Because remember, I'm a dental assistant, but also a designer and technician. So our goal as a technician dental assistant is to save time to the doctor, to save time in the chair, right? So if we do that, they're gonna appreciate you. The doctor is gonna appreciate you a lot because you're taking care of this for them, okay? So then once I do this, I can just come and say, okay, now I'm gonna go bring everything to zero. I'm gonna bring this contact points to zero. So to just a small point, small point, small point, small point, because I don't want to adapt yet, because otherwise I'm gonna have a ding right there, and I don't want that. So now I can say, okay, now I'm done. I can just go to adapt, occlusal, zero, static, cut. From here, I have this, right? And I can also go to the articulator to start doing this dynamic occlusion lateral. So the way I can see where the lateral extrusion are, and I can get rid of those contacts at the same time. I can go to the right and I can do this. I can just go and see where these teeth are hitting, and I can just get rid of these colors, go to this one and get rid of those. So you still have that functionality here too, okay? So now, once I'm done, I already, check the contact points. Everything is just hitting where I want it. So when I do the delivery, I want to see the contact point just hitting right on those spots. So that's why it's important to understand and learn occlusion, because once you do that, then your contact, your delivers, they're just gonna be spot on occlusion. And then I forgot to do this step. We were talking about how to fix these areas right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and doing the Duchenne smile, and I'm gonna start pulling, these areas right here, but without compromising. Before I take care of this, and then at the end I do the contacts. Okay, so here I go here, and I wanna be kind of like 0.1 to 0.5 millimeter, little longer here. I'm gonna, in this case, I stretch the tooth. I'm gonna try to make it look normal. So same thing here. When I go on this one, I'm gonna make sure that this cusp right here, everything looks here when I go with the card. So I'm gonna put the card and then line them up with the distal, so the way I can just pull this here, but I'm pulling from a surface where I don't modify the contacts or anything, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna double check the contact points. But let's say I'm done, I'm happy with this one. Everything looks good right there, like the central, lateral, and then everything else just follows. Now I create a gingiva curve right here, so the way it's gonna look good in the mouth right here too. Okay, nothing's gonna be open down, open down, open down, and the pharyngeal margin will reach too. And then now I just line it up, and I just start pulling that surface right here. I'll make sure that I don't change anything. I go to the canine, I go to this one, and I just pull it up. I go to the second premolar, I go here, and I go to the molar, and then I just pull it down right there. So now I have aesthetically, everything looks beautiful. I'm just gonna check my occlusal contacts one more time, because remember, I forgot to do that, but I just, wanted to share that with you guys, so that way you can see how to, take care of those things. So now everything looks good. My contact points. I don't like that contact. I don't like that contact. I don't like that contact. And I'm just gonna add contacts again and just modify, again, because just in case. Always double check. Do it again if you have to do it. So that way nothing's gonna be compromised in the delivery. Okay. Our goal is to save the dentist, a lot of the time of the dentist, so that we don't have to be grinding this. So let's say I'm happy with everything. I'm just gonna not making this looks better there. Something like this, right? Because I was changing things there, pulling things. So once I know this, the contact points are just pretty much right there. Let me see if I adjusted them. So I'm gonna go to contacts, occlusal, zero, static, cut. So now it's there. Right, everything is just, see those little pink dots right there? So those are gonna be my contacts there. Make sure when you put the supports, if you're printing, make sure that you remove the supports properly, use loops, and get the handpiece and just grind where the supports are. Don't grind too much and don't polish too much. Otherwise, you're gonna get rid of supports. If you're milling, that's not a problem. Just don't put too much glaze, just a thin glaze layer there, and that way you preserve the contact points, okay? So now once I'm done, I can see that everything is gonna look good here. You can see a nice curve speed, and it's all 3D facially driven, right, design. So Duchenne smile, I can see that my transitional line is just gonna be right there. Now I provided proper information to the surgeon or to the dentist, on how much bone to cut, so the way they don't cut too much. Okay, so that's one of the things that we transfer that information, and we can nail and make these cases, we can get them done properly, and nothing, there's not going to be surprises for these cases. So I can see the repose, right? Repose, I can see that it's going to be just right there. Beautiful. And natural smile. Beautiful. There's no curves, there's no canted smile, midline off. You can see right away. If it looks good in the face here, I can tell you, I can close my eyes and I don't even have to see the delivery because I know it's gonna look exactly the same as here. Okay, because that's how confident you become once you start understanding how to make these cases with the face in place. So I started doing this since 2015, and since then my career changed. Plus Exocad changed my career, so I'm very happy because of that. Plus facial scanners, not every facial scanner works the same. As you saw at the beginning, we're able to match the data of the intraoral data with our facial scanner accurately. Plus, we're able to get a bite, which, that's how we deliver. We nail the occlusion every time, especially for these complicated cases, when the patient comes with crooked teeth, bad teeth, right? So now we have everything. Now we can just go next. I check the occlusion, I check the aesthetics, everything looks nice. And then from here, let me just go next here so that you can just jump here, and I just jump away here. So now, right, I'm pretty much done. Right, this is gonna be adapted to my implants later, and have everything ready to go, right? And all these things, once you understand how to do these cases, right? And I didn't know this five years before. I started I started working for Dr. Miras. I was, just putting teeth there, and it looks good, okay, but I didn't know anything about occlusion. I didn't know anything about aesthetics and function. So, and I took the decision to move to Fresno, California, to work for Dr. Miras, which is a course instructor. Learning from him, it just tremendously changed my career. And I was able to, understand the whole picture, every case, working side by side with him in every case, asking him questions in every case as possible so I can, absorb all that information and learn from it. And that's how we were able to, now do these cases very confident because we understand those concepts, and we are just applying digitally, and we're able to get these cases beautiful delivered. And then this you can get this done in Europe, Dubai, everywhere. Just start using facial scanner, and you can see how this is going to change your perspective and how you can get these cases done. We don't use 2D photos. I understand 2D photos are helpful, but having 3D faces just makes you get more information. You can become more accurate, and in getting these cases done properly. So I hope this webinar and this it was very helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, please let us know. I'm here to share with you. The type of technician that loves to share, so that way we can grow together. You can help patients. My goal is for you to help patients. It's not about money or anything else. For me, it's all about patients. So that way they can get beautiful smiles because they deserve it, right? Any questions, just you can reach out to me. My email is fernando@instarisa.com, or you can just visit our website, instarisa.com. And we can chat each other. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, and you can ask any questions you want, and I'll be happy to share with you tips and tricks and how to get these cases done properly. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernando.